If this sounds familiar to you, there's a good chance that you are young. Our generation is one that has grown up almost solely communicating through text. They are informal, abbreviated, unstructured, and rarely include greetings or goodbyes. Texting is very fast and convenient among your friends, but if you have ever tried to text with your grandparents, or even your parents, you know all too well how hard it can be. They are probably more used to writing emails, which have become obsolete in our generation outside of school. However, in the business world and beyond, emails are extremely essential for successful communication. They need to be formal, structured, and filled with all necessary information while being as concise and efficient as possible for the recipient. Emails are just one example of how our generation may not have the necessary communication skills to be prepared to enter into the business world. Hello, listeners. I'm your host, David Hinkle, and with me are my fellow casters.
I'm Sammy Schutz.
I'm Wajid Ashraf.
And I'm Yusuf Abaza.
Welcome to our podcast, How to Become a Successful Business Communicator, where we give you tips to do just that. In this episode, we will talk about the importance of professionalism, empathy, and conciseness. So sit back, relax, and stay tuned to become a more successful business communicator. To start off, the most common skill that many young people lack coming into the business world is professionalism. A lot of that is due to formality. Like we said before, they are more used to texting rather than emailing, but it goes further than that. Not only do you have to seem professional in your writing, it is important to come across as professional when talking face-to-face with customers, coworkers, and especially potential employers. Our first tips come from Max Newell, who is the owner of Stymie Golf Supply Company.
If you can write and articulate things in a way that makes you sound professional, more people are going to be willing to meet with you, even though your business is kind of small and unestablished yet. So it's just a matter of taking the time, being polite and courteous, and asking. There's nothing wrong with asking to meet somebody. The worst they can tell you is no, but in asking that person, you need to present yourself professionally. It's one thing for you to present yourself professionally and for them to say, no, that's okay, you can handle that. But if you just throw something sloppy together, then your first impression is going to be bad. So even if they didn't know who I was, they didn't want to talk to me to begin with, that's fine. At least I left a professional impression on them. And then maybe as I grow, they'd be more interested later on. So it's communicating in a professional manner, being courteous. If they say no, just don't be upset by that and just file it away and then maybe ask again and later. But if you're, like I said, it all comes down, I think, to professionalism and how you're presenting yourself in your company.
Many people wonder why people have so many problems when communicating in today's world of virtual communication, and a central problem is a lack of empathy. Empathy is something that many people lack in this world, but it's necessary for relating and communicating with others. Empathy is defined as the ability to understand and share the feelings of another, but it's much more than this dictionary definition. With empathy comes a general concern for others. When someone is concerned about others, they're more likely to take into account what they're saying and then actually hear things from a perspective that's different from their own. Listen as Mary Wagner, a senior financial advisor at Valley Creek Advisors, discusses this.
Do you have any traits that you believe are most important for a skilled business communicator?
I think empathy, to understand that, you may not have gone through the same situation as your client or your coworkers or other people around you, but to understand where they're coming from. I think you have to have some kind of empathy, because people without empathy, basically, they'll make decisions in a box, but they won't take into account how they interact with people. And I think you have to be able to take yourself outside of yourself and be able to look at the other person's point of view.
The reality is that business leaders need to demonstrate empathy in order to lead their employees to success. Relating to other people can help build better relationships that can ultimately lead to success for the company. Mandy Wallace, Vice President of Business Operations at Essence, also emphasized the importance of empathy in business when I interviewed her.
I think it's really important as people to have empathy for each other, to try to be able to, put yourself in their shoes and understand what they're going through, and to accept that in most cases, people they have good intentions, and you want to give them the benefit of that doubt that they do have good intentions despite, how they might be portraying themselves. And I think written communication, very important. Can I write succinctly? Can I get my point across in a short period of time, or a short length of an email? But also knowing, how should I be communicating to people? Is an email best? Should I have a meeting? Knowing what the tools are for communication.
Another pitfall in communication in today's world that goes hand in hand with empathy is a lack of clarity, which leads to people assuming that another person understands them. Many of you are probably wondering how to solve this problem, and the key to it is really being able to explain and reiterate yourself in multiple ways. Mary Wagner continues to discuss this in more detail.
What's probably the most important lesson that you've learned about communication from working at Valley Creek?
Don't assume it ever happened. Because what happens is you assume that you've gotten your idea, your point of view, or your perspective out to other people, or you just assume that if you lead by example, people will follow. And I think both of those are false, because you can't, expect yourself to have a work ethic and everybody else to follow. You have to be able to really relay your ideas and your values, but understand that not everybody else around you has the same ideas and values, and they're not necessarily going to lead by example.
In conclusion, younger people may be informal, abbreviated, unstructured, and rarely include greetings or goodbyes. But today we've learned a lot. Max Newell taught us about professionalism. Nancy Marzuk taught us about the fundamentals of working as a younger employee. Finally, Mary Wagner, a senior financial advisor at Valley Creek Advisory, discussed the importance of communication, especially how empathy and clarity are crucial, as did Mary Wales, a VP of Business Operations at Essence. Between the three of these industry experts, we've learned how to better communicate, and hopefully it will serve us well in our business ventures and future.
That is going to wrap up this episode of How to Become a Successful Business Communicator. We hope you have enjoyed and will use these tips in your future business career. Thank you from all of us for listening to this episode, and we hope you have an amazing day.